Good afternoon. You're listening to the Highland Waves podcast, coming to you from Marshbrook Studios, located beside the world-renowned Margaree River in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, Canada. Highland Waves feature stories about the people, the places, and the visitors of Inverness County. I'm Pat Wall, your host. Today, my guest is Terry Dirkovich. Welcome to Highland Waves, Terry.
Well, thank you, Pat.
You're very welcome. Terry is a long-time summer resident of Inverness County, an artist, and an avid salmon angler. How long have you been a seasonal resident to Inverness County?
I would say since 2001, 2002, something like that. As I've gotten older, my mind has slipped a bit, so...
But you haven't slipped away from Cape Breton. You're still here.
Nope, but it's hard to miss a year. I missed last year. I didn't like it.
You're located in Granitang. Where did life begin for you?
Actually, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
And then my family in 1950 moved to California, to Encinitas, California. And then along the way, we moved around in California, and that's where I began.
What did you do in your early life? What did you do in terms of education? Did you go to college or university?
Well, I did my high school thing. For a graduation present, I went to Hawaii. My friend Bob Carpenter and I went together on a boat. We went to surf the summer in Hawaii, and eventually surfing took over my life. And so that's what I did. I did get a year of college in and just was bored.
Okay. How did you earn a living?
Well, in Hawaii, most of my living was done bartending or working as a waiter, working in hotels, and surfing in the day.
When did you become interested in art?
I'd always been interested in art, but I really didn't get involved with art too much until I was older. When I went through a hard time, something I wanted to do was paint. I was having a really rough go, and I started painting. And since then, it's been 40 years.
Wow. Do you have a gallery?
No.
No. And how do people get access to your art?
Well, they really don't. I like to paint what I want to paint. I do it for myself. Every now and then I sell one, which is nice.
Okay.
I'd like to paint up here because it's a real pretty place, and the salmon fishing thing has taken over now that I'm a little older. So consequently, I like to paint salmon paintings.
Okay. I've seen a few pieces of yours. One of them was a lovely one you donated to the Margaree Salmon Association for their annual dinner here. I think it was either last year or the year before. What is it about the place that influences your art?
Well, first of all, the salmon fishing, but it was the people and the river and just the feel of the place. It's really wonderful. It's beautiful here. My gal and I got her up my second time I came here, and she liked it too. And just the people, and we got to see the fall. And so we like to spend the summers here. I'm expecting her in about 2 weeks. She'll be here.
Okay. Have idols in art? Do people you look up to or get inspired by?
Well, most of my stuff, I also worked in an art gallery in La Jolla, California, and older American art from the early teens to the 30s, and that's what I really like. I like the older American art.
Do you have a favorite time of day that you create, or is it just when you feel like it?
It's when I just feel like it, and once I get going, sometimes I don't stop for hours. And my hardest part, because I'm lazy, is getting started, just to start it. I've got a pretty good one going right now that's, ready to finish, so that's something.
So you obviously like this area. What first brought you here? Was it the salmon fishing, or was it the scenery, or Somebody must have encouraged you.
My friend Bob Carpenter, who I've known since the second grade, for years was trying to get me to come here. I was working, I couldn't do it. And one year I had six weeks of vacation, so I said, okay, never had a fly rod in my hand, came up here and got on this river. I had to stand out in a yard practicing fly casting for 10 minutes a day, keeping the fly in the air. And then I started meeting people like Kinney and Joe Shashan and Robert and just lots of people up here. And they're all so nice to me and giving me hints and showing me how to do it and teaching me the etiquette of the river. And just to see the difference and the beauty of guys casting and hooking fish and the simplicity of everything is just purely beautiful.
Well, you're here a long time during the year. What is your favorite time of year to be here?
Well, I like it any time I'm here. I'd like to spend a winter here, but I don't know if that'll ever happen. But really, if the fish were here, this would be my favorite time of year. Fall is wonderful, and I just get out of here before it gets too cold.
So your home really is in San Diego?
Yeah, it's North County of San Diego, a place called Solana Beach.
Okay. What's the major difference between your home in San Diego and your home here in Margaree?
Peace. You know, it's really funny because we live in a wonderful place there, and we're about a mile from the ocean, but we have, before houses were built, there was an ocean view. We have a great backcountry view, a wonderful house, no activity around where we are. But once we get down to our little town, it's just crazy, and the amount of traffic is unbelievable. I tell people that here, one year, a number of years ago, I had a traffic jam coming out of my driveway. There were 8 cars going by.
Wow.
And that was on the Cabot Trail.
Atlantic salmon is partially the primary reason why you're here. But this year has been a very poor year on the Margaree due to low water, warm water, lack of rain. In fact, half the river is closed right now because of that reasons. Besides your art, what do you do in those kinds of times?
Well, you know what? I'd like to paint more, but this morning, for instance, I was up at 5:30 and I was painting on my house because I got to take care of things on that. And I was doing the trim work in front. We have a wonderful house, and just trying to take care of things. And then I'd like to just relax at my house. This has been a wonderful year, even though there's been no fishing. I've got to go out on a lobster boat. People that I've met over the years, wonderful trip. I got to watch Gaspereau fishing and have my hand in that a little bit, and seeing how fantastic all the life in this river, the wonderful things going on. Earlier today, I was fishing in a little place, and there was a family of merlins flying around, and I could see the shadow on the cliff, and it was fantastic watching that and just being in a river. No fish, but it was nice being outdoors.
Well, your observation skills sure come to the front. That's why you like to paint as well. Despite it being a poor year on this river and on other rivers as well, you must have experienced really good times on this river when the conditions were better than they are now. Can you maybe tell us about one of those or two?
You know, I've had so many wonderful experiences catching fish. I look at the photographs of me with fish that I go, wow, I remember that. But I think one of the most fantastic times I had that I remember was I fell asleep on the bench at the seal pool. I was asleep. Everybody left. I woke up and I just started casting. And I hooked a fish, and when it came out of the water and I saw how big it was, I thought, oh man, what am I going to do? Then I had a long fight with this fish. And I didn't know what to do. I was the only person on the river. And I was bringing the fish in. I knew I had it, and it came off. And still, that was a fantastic time. It was just unbelievable. I'll never forget it.
Was that prior to hook and release, or was that in the days when you could smack it on the head and take it home?
Well, when I got here, you could only keep the grills.
Okay.
So, and at that time, it seemed like 8, but it might have been 4. It went to 4 and then 2.
That's right.
And then down to nothing, which, and I actually like the fish. I like the people. I want to see this thing stay here. I'd love to have my son come up here and fish and just see what it's like to be in the river, to see the beauty of fly fishing like this and fishing salmon. My son and I, we used to fish in the Sierras a lot, and when he would come over and visit, and that was great. But when you catch a salmon, when you hook a salmon and it comes out of the water and it runs, I remember I didn't understand it at first, but one day I was standing in the seal pool, probably my first year here, and I had a fish come up maybe 4 feet from me, and I stepped backwards. It had no fear of me. It came out of the water. I thought it was an alligator. And it was just like, wow, now I know why you want to catch a salmon.
What's the biggest fish you ever caught here?
I'm going to say it was close to 3 feet. I was alone. I was at the Mad Brook. It was pouring rain. The water was still clear. The water was going. I saw somebody up towards the wash fishing. I was by myself. I hooked this big male fish. I got it up to the bank. The water was pretty high. I got it up to the bank. I couldn't get the hook out. It rolled over on me and broke off and went away. But you know what? The fish didn't have any fight. It was but it was a huge, huge male, the biggest fish I caught. Close to 3 feet long.
Really? What type of flies were you using? Dry fly, wet flies?
It was a wet fly. It was a dark fly, dark and red, and it got my fly.
Have you always been a hook and release fisherman?
Really, I have. I've kept a couple grills over the years when they were available to keep. Tastes good.
Yeah, they sure do.
The funny story is, one year my wife said, "Bring me home a grilse." Well, I caught a grilse that day, and I don't want to say this, but some other people wanted it. I didn't know what to do. Should I keep it? Should I release it? Should I keep it? Should I release it? The thing flipped out of my hands and went back in the river by itself, and I went, okay.
Do you tie your own flies?
No.
No.
If I tied my own flies, I wouldn't be able to paint or do anything else. I think I'm busy, but I'm pretty lazy.
Do you have a particular technique or ritual when you go to fish for Atlantic salmon?
Not that I can think of. I do like to go explore. There are people, I used to explore with a Jacques. I don't know if, Pat, you knew Jacques, but he was a wonderful guy, and we would park car in one place and walk down river, and I really miss him. He was fun.
You've got many friends here, and one of the closest friends I guess you had here was Henry Green. Henry was a great salmon angler, and also he was a friend of mine. And of course he passed last year actually. And I guess they're having a memorial for him this year, probably next week. What are some of your great memories with Henry?
I have many great memories with Henry. The first year I was here, I would go with Bob Carpenter, and he would always be there, try to be at the seal pool before anybody else. And it was a hilarious thing because Joe Chasson would be sitting in his house on the other side of the river, and the light would be on in Joe's house, and he'd see Bob's car driving up, and Joe would run down and get in his boat and always beat Bob. So Bob would drive sometimes with his light off and try to get to him. We could never beat him. So it's hilarious. That's what it's like here. The people here are wonderful. We had a lot of fun doing that. Well, anyway, one day Henry said, "Terry, instead of going home early, stay with me." and he took me around. We went to the post office. I got to know Henry. He liked me around. And the last few years, well, he was mad at me one year when I couldn't come up here during the COVID time. I couldn't get across right away, so I didn't come up here. And I think he liked me as his walking stick. So we used to go across the river together. He was enjoyable. I'd show up at his house for martinis a couple times a week. He was a master at casting the two-handed rod, and he had so much information, so interesting. What a life, a historian, just wonderful. I drive 4,000 miles to get here. It's 4,091 this year, and I would drive here and spend time with Henry and drive home. And on my way home, I'd stop and spend a night at his house. If Melody would go home with me, we'd stop by and see him and then visit friends all the way across the country. The people we have met up here, from here and from other places, have just added so much to my life and my enjoyment. It's fantastic, the people you meet here and just how wonderful this place is.
Well, that's very nice to hear. There have been a lot of changes on the Margaree River since you started coming. Are there particular changes that have jumped out at you, and comment on those?
Well, the last couple of years, I didn't come last year. I had to get a new hip. But what I have noticed this year, and 2 years ago, was the fact that the people, there's a younger group, and a lot of the people are gone that were here before. I've noticed younger people, more people, but what's disturbing to me is I see more trash around. Earlier this year, I went to one of my favorite places, which I won't name. It's a long hike, and it's neat, a lot of hill to it. And I saw beer cans in the bushes and things, and I carry a bag with me now when I go, because just clean this place up. Clean up after yourselves.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know why it is, but it's happening too much. And
Yes.
I'm glad that I'm not the only one that observes that. You're in that boat as well. And as a matter of fact, we had Jimmy Pedersen here just recently, and he was remarking on that as well. So it's becoming more and more so as time goes on.
You know what? Another interesting thing is a lot of the kids that are fishing now, young people, are great fishermen, and it's good to see that. It's good to see younger people. There's Tobias is a guy, I love watching him fish. So there's a lot of good kids around now.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Are you a member of the Margaree Salmon Association?
No, not really.
No, okay.
I always when Melody's with me, I always go to the dinner, which is wonderful.
Do you feel they've done a reasonably good job with overseeing the river?
I see a lot of work being done on the river. I wish there was more water. I think what's going on up above where they've cut the trees down is makes the river rise and drop too fast. I don't know what you can do about that.
What changes in the communities have you seen or stand out to you since you started coming here?
Well, there's more people here, more people coming here and saying, wow, I want a summer home here. There's just great people, and they're still here. I'm missing several now that have passed away.
Do you feel these changes have affected the river at all, or the communities that you associate with?
I think a lot of the communities are actually better off right now. It looks like the people, there seems to be people are doing better. I remember the first year I was here, I'd go to Chetty Camp to the store, and they had no vegetables. It was unbelievable. It was all canned food. And now you can get almost anything you want, which I think is good because I like eating well.
Yeah, so do we.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, is there anything you would like to add?
Well, I think this is a great place, and I think it needs to be taken care of. And, there's a lot of people here that I really like. Like to have them all come down and visit me someday down there, but why would you come down for the traffic and masses of humanity? Up here is peaceful. and it's wonderful. And where I live, it's just gorgeous. Nights are wonderful when you see the stars. And last night was getting cool for the first time. It's been a hard year because of the heat. But last night it's changing, and it's getting the way it ought to be, I think.
Well, Terry, thank you for coming to talk to us this afternoon and share your experiences of the Margaree. And obviously, they're very positive ones. And to talk about your fishing and also your art. And I wish you well in all respects of your life, here and elsewhere. And thank you to our listeners. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons to stay up to date. And remember, subscribing to Highland Waves is free. Our thought for today is by Ed Zern, who once said, "Fly fishermen are born honest, but they soon get over it." So long for now, Pat.